In 1940, a man made an impossible decision. He volunteered to be arrested by the Nazis. Not to escape, not to fight. He walked into Auschwitz, one of history's deadliest camps. Most people prayed they would never go there, but he went on purpose, because he had a secret mission the Nazis could never discover. His name was Witold Pilecki, and what he did inside Auschwitz would shock the world. By 1940, Nazi Germany had occupied Poland. Across the country, people were vanishing. Entire families were forced onto trains and transported to concentration camps. Whispers began spreading through the Polish underground resistance. Prisoners were being beaten, worked to exhaustion, starved for days. But rumors alone were not enough. The resistance needed proof. They needed someone inside Auschwitz who could reveal the truth. But entering the camp meant almost certain death. Almost no one would volunteer, except one man. In September 1940, during a Nazi roundup in Warsaw, Pilecki deliberately stepped into a crowd of civilians being arrested. Within hours, he was forced into a dark cattle wagon. Dozens of prisoners were packed together so tightly they could barely move. For 2 days, the train moved east. No food, almost no water. Just the grinding sound of metal wheels on tracks. When the train doors finally opened, guards began shouting and beating prisoners with rifle butts. Pilecki stepped onto the platform. Ahead of him stood barbed wire fences, watchtowers, and armed SS guards. He had arrived at Auschwitz. But what he planned to do inside the camp would be even more dangerous. Very quickly, Pilecki realized something terrifying. Auschwitz was not simply a prison. It was a machine designed to destroy human beings. Prisoners worked long hours in freezing weather. Roll calls sometimes lasted all night. Food rations were little more than thin soup and a piece of bread. If someone collapsed from exhaustion, guards often beat them until they stood again. Many never did. But Pilecki had not come to survive. He was secretly building something inside the camp, a resistance network. Quietly, he began recruiting prisoners he believed he could trust. Slowly, the network grew. Dozens of prisoners, then hundreds. They secretly shared food with the weakest prisoners, helped the sick avoid deadly labor assignments, and most importantly, they began sending messages to the outside world. Through escaped prisoners and smuggled reports, Pilecki's messages reached the Polish resistance. Those reports described brutal beatings, executions, starvation, and something even more horrifying. Auschwitz was becoming a place of mass killing. These were among the first eyewitness reports revealing the true horrors of the camp. But sending these reports was incredibly dangerous. If the guards discovered the resistance network, everyone involved would be executed. Still, Pilecki continued his mission for nearly 3 years, until he reached a devastating realization. The outside world now knew what was happening inside Auschwitz, and almost nothing was being done. Pilecki began to believe there was only one way left to force action. He would have to escape the camp himself and personally deliver the truth. Planning the escape took months. Finally, in 1943, an opportunity appeared. Pilecki and 2 other prisoners were assigned to a night shift at a bakery outside the main camp fence. Late one night, they quietly overpowered a guard. If the alarm sounded, armed patrols and dogs would hunt them down. Working quickly, they cut the telephone line, grabbed documents from the guardhouse, and ran into the darkness. Behind them stood one of the most feared places in Europe. For the first time in nearly 3 years, Pilecki was free. After escaping, Pilecki wrote a detailed report describing everything he had witnessed inside Auschwitz. Today, it is known as Pilecki's report. It exposed the brutality of the camp and the growing system of mass murder. His mission had succeeded. The world could no longer say it did not know. Witold Pilecki did something almost unimaginable. He voluntarily walked into Auschwitz. Not to become famous, not to become a hero, but to reveal the truth. Because sometimes the greatest courage in history is not escaping darkness. Sometimes it is choosing to walk directly into it so the world can see what is hidden there.